Welcome back to the Realty Funnels Podcast. I'm Kevin Cahill, and I'm so delighted today to welcome Ben Steff to the Realty Funnels Podcast. Ben is a mortgage lender, and he's headquartered in Chicago, Illinois, and he focuses on, of course, first-time home buyers, refinancing, but his special niche is helping investors gain freedom through investing in real estate. And I'm looking forward to the conversation. Ben, welcome.
Kevin, thank you for having me, man. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you for joining me. Let's give everyone a little sense of who you are, where you are, and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm 5'7". I weigh 100 and no, I'm kidding. So born and raised in Chicago. I come from an immigrant family. We're Romanians. So we still travel. We go often and speak the language and everything. I'm actually going to Romania in a month. So I grew up in this sort of two worlds, right? We had the Eastern European world and then we had the American world. And so we got to see how Americans did things, right? And we got to see how like the work ethic of just the immigrant mentality of like eat what you kill, figure it out, no handouts, like just make it work and make it happen. And so my dad was he is a GC. So I grew up doing construction. I like working with my hands. But long term, I was like, I don't think I want to do this. I want to be the guy that like shows up on the job site for an hour or two and like owns the building. Like, who's that guy, right? Because I would notice like there'd be the realtor, like the owner, coming in, and he had I was like, okay, that's the guy with the money. Like, I want to be the guy that owns. And so basically, I helped my dad like. I wouldn't say I helped him manage the construction business. I helped him manage the glass business. He started a franchise later on, but I helped him with construction. I would need help him with the technology, with payroll, with Excel. Like I was kind of growing up, like I had to do all the, some of the things for him because he couldn't do it. He doesn't know how to, use Word document or whatever. Now he does, but, so yeah, did that, went to college, graduated with a bachelor in business management. I paid cash for school. So I would work and then take off and then work. So I did that on and off. And then I did mortgage lending full-time and school at the same time, which was really difficult. Very, very hard, where I did classes at night and then I would work all day. And so there was some overlap there. Graduated. The degree was completely worthless. Did not need the degree. But I had to finish because I hate starting things and not finishing. So I did it out of pride, honestly. And so I got my degree in business management, did some odd jobs here and there, landed in mortgage on accident, started as a career. And then I realized, wow, wait a minute. Like it was just a job for me, Kevin. Like it was just a whatever job. I didn't, you know what I mean? I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to grow and I want to become the VP of the company. Like I didn't care. I was like, whatever, I just need a job. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute, this could be my own business. Like this can be lucrative, but also I could start my own thing and I can kind of do my own thing because I thought it was just some big corporatized like business model, but I realized it's not. You can actually kind of run it like your own business as a realtor would, right? And so yeah, eventually every job I took from that point on, I would go to a smaller and smaller shop to where eventually I was like, okay, I need to just do my own thing because I kept butting heads with everybody. I kept like, I disagree with how they ran the business. I disagree with their marketing. I disagree with their with all their strategies. And I was like, let me just run it myself. And so now we're here. Fast forward 6 years in the business now.
It's fascinating that mortgage lending is very similar to residential real estate brokerage, where you create your own book of business, you call your own hours, you provide the level of service you desire to provide. You realize that the more you can solve other people's problems, the more you're going to be in demand.
Yep.
And there's no limit. Nobody's putting a ceiling on how much money you can earn in mortgage lending simply because they're wanting you to close more transactions, lend more money, do more deals. And from there, more opportunities just continue to flow in.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like if I was a realtor, there's so much overlap between the way we run our businesses as independent, like contractors, if you want to call it that. So I think there is a lot of that, and it's definitely one of those things where it takes a while. At least for me, it took me a long time for things to pick up, and then what felt like overnight everything just changed. And now, like, for me, my business really took off. And yeah, we just solve problems well and at a high level. And that's what I do. That's how we keep busy.
And you're in the Chicago area. Is your lending practice limited to Chicagoland? Is that where you focus?
No, so Chicago is just where we get a lot of referrals there, but I'm actually nationwide. We have a lot of deals in Florida, Atlanta, California, and Missouri. We like all over, states all over, and Virginia. They're kind of, it depends on the deal itself. So most of our investor products are available nationwide in virtually every state, with the exception of like Alaska, I think, and some products aren't available in New York. But yeah, so I right now I'm nationwide, so I help a lot of investors across the board. Yeah.
And when you focus in on a niche, you recognize that you can become a specialist. You can really become deeply knowledgeable in that space. And for you, you've mentioned that that's really focusing in on rental properties, helping people achieve wealth through, in essence, positive cash flow by owning cash flowing pieces of real estate. How did you dial into that niche?
I just always liked that niche a little bit more. I always geared my content and conversations around it, like helping people discover through the financing programs what rentals they could buy, the fact that they could buy rentals when they thought that they couldn't, helping them house hack, buy a 4 unit where they could live in one, rent out the rest, right? So like helping people do that outside of the normal, like, let's just help you buy a house in the suburbs, was really fascinating to me. So I always was drawn to that. I don't know why. Maybe if we sat down for 3 hours, we can figure it out. And after
On a
some
couch,
analysis,
put you on a couch and
put me on the couch and let me like analyze, But I love, I still love home buyers. I help them still, but the focus definitely lately has just been investors, because they've been keeping me busy, and I think they're an underserved market, and I'll tell you why. Investor mortgages and loans for investors, especially HELOCs, are not as scalable. Well, HELOCs are more scalable, but in general, the investment niche is not as scalable because each loan takes a lot more work and hand holding, and it's a lot more hands-on. When it comes to helping someone buy a house, the loan process is a little bit easier. So I could probably do 10 of those without batting an eye, right? I'll be busy, but I'm not like screaming with my head cut off. But like if I did 3 or 4 investment deals, they might keep me as busy as 10, is my point.
And
right?
And probably because you're dealing with rentals, you're dealing with, what's the cash
Lease
flow from this
agreements,
property?
tenants, exactly. Appraisals, like everything's so important about appraisals. Like, what are the market rents going to come in at? What are the comps for rent, for sales comparison for the actual sales price? So like, there's so many layers to it, and investors are not in clean situations all the time. They have a million things going on. Almost every investor I'm working with right now has an issue, right? Like some are fairly clean, but a lot of them aren't. And I'm not saying that they don't have good credit, but the point is they had something come up or some weird whatever. So yeah.
I know from investing in multifamily properties that I dealt with the fact that I needed to qualify for the loan and the property needed to qualify for the loan. When you're
Yeah.
dealing with a single family residential purchase for an owner occupant, it's very clean. It's just like, okay, can this person afford the mortgage? And is the property worth what they're paying for the property?
That's
Done.
it.
We're done. Then
Right.
you get into residential rental properties, and it's always fascinating to me, especially in Florida, where I just don't think I've seen a pro forma where any seller has ever said, we have these things renting at maximum market rents. You can't get another dime. No, always saying these, we haven't raised the rents in 7 years. We've had good tenants. We didn't want to have any vacancies. I'm sure you can get a lot more money in rent. No, you're getting the max you can get. You just don't want to deal with those vacancies that might come up if you push too hard. But they always make it sound like, we're bringing in $8,000 a month in rent. You can probably bring in $12,000. No, that's never the case. And
Yeah.
nobody is ever saying we're getting 12,000 a month and we're just hitting it out of the park. You're not going to get another dime. So then when you take these situations to a lender, the lender's having to look through and say, based on the comps, what should these properties be getting in rent? Based on the condition, based on the current job economy locally, And so, yes, they're much more complicated. But from my point of view, if I'm dealing with a lender who is okay with the amount of work that that's going to take, okay, now as a broker, I'm dealing with a mortgage lender who's on my team, helping me help people accumulate wealth through real estate.
Yeah, and that's what you need too. Like you need someone, in my opinion, if you're going to build a team, especially for real estate investing, you want to have a team that is experienced and that they think like investors. And personally, if they are, if possible, that they are investing in real estate, because then they know how to put on the investor hat and look at it through those lenses as well. Not saying they have to have 100 doors, but like I think that it's important. But yeah, that's so true. It's like the paradox of marketing a listing. It's so funny to me when agents sometimes call and they're like, Ben, this is such a good deal. Like, you have to jump on this. And you look at it and you're like, I don't think it's a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, you're wrong. It's a good deal. And I'm like, well, why don't you get it then? Well, I can't. I got this, I got that, and whatever. But it's, I'm like, okay. Like, and then from the seller perspective, it's like, oh man, fantastic opportunity. Possibility of raising rents, like so much, of course they have to lavish it up and make it sound so good. And it's like, well, why are you selling that? It's like, if it's that good, and I get it, sometimes you need equity or you need funds, whatever, but it's funny to me. It's like, I ignore listing descriptions, I ignore what listing agents say. I don't care anymore. I'm pulling up the tax bill, we're looking at title, we're looking at the pro form, we're looking at the OM. Like, it's irrelevant to me. It's irrelevant. I'm looking at the P&L. It's just like, I've kind of learned just to not like, and for the realtors listening, I'm sorry, but like, I just don't trust some agents anymore, like listing agents. Like, even I don't care what you tell me the taxes are, Kevin. I'm looking up the taxes.
Of course, and
I
you
don't
should.
care what. I don't care. You know what I mean? And insurance, I'm getting insurance quotes, right? What
Yeah.
type of insurance do you have currently? Oh, okay, you have a certain policy that doesn't insure the roof, but you're insuring the building. Oh, okay, interesting. It's a cash replacement for the roof, but not for, okay, gotcha. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. There's just things that we think through.
It's so interesting when I look at because I still look at rental properties all the time.
I'm sure you
And
do.
I started my career in Cleveland, Ohio, where an investment property could absolutely cash flow every month. It could deliver a very nice return on investment, positive cash flow. Then I moved down to Florida to run Keller Williams Realty in Tampa Bay. And I was looking at these rental properties, and I bought a bunch of rental properties in Florida. It was a totally different game than in Cleveland. It was an appreciation game.
Mm,
In Cleveland, it was a cash flow game. In Florida, you would buy this property, improve it, get it rented for maximum money, sit on it for 3 years, get some appreciation, exit.
yep.
Because it wasn't cash flowing that whole time. It was okay. It wasn't sucking wind. It wasn't terrible, but the real opportunity was the exit.
Mm,
In Cleveland, and here I am in Seattle now. Seattle, it's very, very much the case that the rental properties are going to be subsidizing the renter's lifestyle somewhat, but the appreciation is the game. But you get into those Midwest sensibilities, Chicagoland, Detroit, Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, you're going to get cash flowing properties. So that's a whole different thing that you get into when you're helping fund freedom. In essence, when you're helping an investor, the investor needs to know, what game am I actually playing here?
Oh, that's so good. What game, right? What game are you playing? What's the market that you're in? And what's the strategy that you're going for? What's the end goal? Because everything that we do is just a vehicle. Whether it's opening a car wash, buying a quadplex, right? Or buying a single family Airbnb. Like, what's the strategy here? Because a lot of people will ask, it's like asking, I love when people ask me, like, should I do X or should I do Y? It's like, should I buy an Airbnb or should I use a DSCR loan to buy a rental property? It's like I respond with, that's like asking me, should I buy an F-150 with zero context, by the way. Like, you just approached me on the street and you're like, hey, Kevin, I'm thinking about buying a Ford F-150. Should I do it?
I would say, why are you thinking about buying a Ford F-150?
Right. I mean, why not a Prius? Like, what are we talking about here, right? Are you an Uber driver? Are you a construction worker? Are you commuting every day to an office job an hour away? Like, what's the point, right? And so I think it's important to establish that, because what the context matters, the goals matter. So if you really want cash flow, okay, in the market that you're in, right? What's your unique advantage? That's why I love, like, investing locally, because that's your unique advantage. You grew up there or you live there, so you could see things that maybe institutional investors, out of state investors don't see. Um, but like, what's your unique advantage, or what are you going for? Is the game, like you said, we have some investors right now looking in Oklahoma and in parts in Alabama. And what we've noticed there is the rents are pretty high, cap rates are pretty good, and the taxes and insurance are so cheap, like
Mhm.
dynamite. It's just like beautiful, right? If you can find the right deal. And so we're noticing that it's like, okay, like, that's a cash flow game. But guess what? Like you mentioned with Ohio, the appreciation though is going to be pretty slow. They're not
Yes.
going to appreciate that fast. So don't expect a large equity build. So are you going for a lot of cash flow? I mean, we always talk about what's your freedom number, right? Like, if you had this much coming in a month, like more passively, that doesn't require 40, 50, 60 hours a week of work, what is that number for you? Is it 5 grand, 10 grand, 30 grand a month? Like, what is it? And then, okay, let's work to build up to that point with our rental properties. And I think I love being a part of the team with the investor to help them get to that point, because at the end of the day, we all want cash flow. I think, well, at least I would argue, like, we want cash flow. Appreciation's nice, tax benefits are nice, cost seg with depreciation, great. But at the end of the day, you do want some income coming in, so you don't have to work full time, or so you can retire or whatever. So yeah.
And yeah, you just need to know what game you're in. It's often the case that when I'm dealing with a property seller,
Yeah.
they'll say, hey, we had an appraisal 3 months ago, and we want to go with that number. And so my first question will be, why was it that you had an appraisal? And in essence, when I was in the real estate classes, when I was dealing with Appraisal 101, the first question an appraiser asks is, what is the purpose for this appraisal? Because if they're looking at funding a mortgage or a refinance, that's different than if they're doing a valuation for somebody's net worth statement, or if they're valuing something for some type of personal financial statement. And so when people come to me and they say, I have an appraisal, the appraiser said it was worth X, I just take that with a grain of salt, because I need to know exactly the questions that were asked by that appraiser. And the same thing when we're real estate brokers, mortgage lenders, when we're dealing with our clients, the question is, what's the goal? What
Yep.
are you trying to accomplish here? Wealth is very easy to achieve in the long haul through real estate, but you need to know what game you're playing. Because if you're
Mhm.
reading a book, you went to a hotel and attended some seminar, and it talks about getting rich quick through real estate with no money down, you realize we need to figure out what game you're playing. And then when you're playing that game, where's the best playground to play it? Because it
Exactly.
might not be in your local area.
Right. Like, study the rules of the game that you're playing so you can play the game better than anybody else, and then be so good that you will excel and win. Like, that's how I look at it. So and I think there's two different types of real estate investing. There's active and passive. So you could, like, or um REITs. I forgot how they're, anyway, but like,
Yeah,
there's
REITs,
syndications.
when you're dealing with REITs.
Yeah, with REITs, and like, you have all these different platforms where you can invest and have returns, or be an LP, right, on a deal, and that's fine, or you can put your boots on and go, like, help make sure the construction project's moving along on your new flip, right? So there's different ways to do it, and you have to, like, I think it's important to establish that, but then also establish the niche that you're in. And so this is why I talk about this a lot on my YouTube channel when I'm talking to investors, Kevin, is like, I have investors. I have this one guy right now, and I had to yell at him a couple times because he's new. And he's like, Ben, I really want to buy a 4-unit. I'm like, okay, great. This is what you got to do. And he's like, you know what, Ben, I really want to do condos. There's some really good condo deals. We can start doing condos, And then he's like, all right, I want to do Airbnbs. Let's do Airbnbs in this area. And I'm like, buddy, focus. Like, pick a niche and focus on it. Like, stop changing what property type you're gonna, because you master faster, right? When you're pursuing something that is, I want to buy 3 to 4 unit properties and that's it. In Chicago, we're the number one multifamily market, I believe, after New York, actually, for small residential multifamily. We have the most 2 to 4 unit properties. And so because of that, I got investors and real estate agents that just focus on that. And so they get really good at building a buy box around finding a property. So I think it's important, hence the one thing, right? It's important to focus and not chase 2 rabbits at the same time, because you can't catch both of them. You only can catch one. And then with that being said as well, that's why I also focus on, that's why I try to focus where I can, and not try to have 40 businesses running at the same time, because having multiple businesses, like having multiple wives, I think it's very, very difficult, if you ask me. One wife is enough. I'm not even doing enough for that. Like, imagine, adding anyway. So yeah.
You mentioned Gary Keller and the one thing. Of course, I worked with Gary for many, many years. He's just an absolutely brilliant visionary.
Nice.
He has a wonderful book called The Millionaire Real Estate Investor, which when I talked with Gary years ago, he actually said, I think that's the best book I've ever written. And there you go. And he is really masterful. So if anybody is thinking about getting into residential real estate, yes, the one thing is great. The question, what is the one thing I could be doing if I did that properly, would negate having to do other things or make other things less important? And
Exactly.
When you get into the millionaire real estate investor, then you're looking at strategies for identifying what you will buy, finding the network of people who will help you find what you will buy, including, bird dogging, people who can help you find those properties, but then also the lenders who can help you get the financing to get into those properties, the property managers who will help you manage your growing assets. And it's just a wonderful way of looking at it. But all that being said, I think the really important thing here is that we focus on creating that network, studying from the masters, the people who have gone ahead of us, and then just pick the one thing that you will really be comfortable with.
Yep.
And whatever that might be. In Florida, Lisa and I have dealt with so many vacation rental buyers, and we've dealt with selling those assets. We've helped people buy those assets. But the people who are excelling in the short-term rental space, they have a whole system. They have the people who can help them turn over a unit, the cleaning team, the painters, the people who will get in there very quickly and repair any damage. It's a whole niche. And yet it's a different niche than dealing with the long-term rentals, which is a totally different niche than dealing with owning office buildings, which is totally different than dealing with warehouses. I have a guy in my network who his whole wealth was built by buying storage facilities. He doesn't deal with short-term rentals. He doesn't deal with even single-family residential stuff.
Yep.
He is all about, how do I maximize the income potential from these storage facilities? And then he's dealing with all sorts of ancillary income streams, rental, the rental insurance for those people in the in the storage units. They're renting their storage unit, but they're going to have to insure their stuff in there in case there's fire or storm or whatever it might be. He's selling, moving equipment right there. I mean, so what's your niche? It's really important that you figure out what you're going to focus on.
Yeah, and I think that goes to the investors. I think that goes to real estate agents, right? Like, are you going to focus on luxury homes, new builds, move-up buyers, first-time home buyers, right? Like, what is the niche you're going to focus on, even from a marketing perspective? And I think that's what's so important, Kevin, that a lot of people just don't. We see all these guys that are successful, and it's like, oh yeah, they're running 4 businesses. So it's like that's the business. So if they're running 5 businesses, I should be running 5. Like Elon Musk, he's got all these companies, and it's like, guys, you don't understand. Like, all these people did one thing first. They all started. I think Gary Keller talks about in his book too. Like, these guys started one thing, got really good at it. Then once that machine was sort of humming, like almost in your sleep, and now you sold, you built a company, you sold, or you hired a CEO. So now you're not, you're on the board, but you're not really running it. It's like, now I can, okay, start something else, right, and have something else run. But you could do that in a compressed amount of time because you already built the first business well. So that's why I'm like, build the first thing well, do that part well, then you could build everything else. And I think in this day and age, we can't focus to save our lives. Like, we just can't. There's so much distraction, and that's how you win.
I wanted to show you that my copy of the book is spiral bound, and I've got the
Ah,
plastic cover on it, and I've got
wow.
tabs on it, and this is a well-worn book. But yeah, if you're going to focus in on creating freedom through investing in real estate, start studying from those people who have gone ahead of you. And the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, or Millionaire Real Estate Investor for one book, that's somebody who's earning $1 million a year of cash flow from their rental properties. So, so many interesting things. Let me ask you this, Ben, when you're dealing with somebody who is thinking, this makes sense to me. I'm young, I've got time, I've got runway, I've got money to invest. What are the first questions you're asking that person to help guide them on their journey to growing wealth through real estate?
Sometimes I ask them, what do they want? And the thing is, they don't know what they want. So I don't spend a lot of time there because they want to figure it out. I mean, if I was single and I didn't have kids, like, immediately we're house hacking, because in our market, it's so easy to do so. There's a lot of inventory for it.
That's
So
how
I
I
would,
got into it. My first property
yep.
was a duplex, and I had the entire mortgage paid off in 11 years. The mortgage was at 8.625. I never refied because I just knew that the ROI, the cost of refi, I'd have the home paid off before the benefit of a lower interest rate would even make sense. But that
Yep.
tenant was paying most of the mortgage, and I was just pouring money into the rest of it to get it paid off.
That's it. Yeah. So that like, most effective strategy, if you're not married, or even if you're married and your spouse is on board with it, that's always the tricky part. They have to be on board. But if they're not, but if you're not married and you're single, I think house hacking in our market, 3 to 4 unit is the highest returns right now. If you buy a duplex, it's not quite worth it. Honestly, it'd be better to just do a 4 unit. But yeah, that's the strategy. Like, that's what's working right now. That's what's really effective. And so I think that, like, starting off in that niche is great. Having mentors and a network around you that you can trust, right? Having the contractor, the attorney, because we're an attorney state, at least in Illinois. Having
Mhm.
the realtor that you trust that's in your corner. You have the millionaire investor. Gary Keller talks about having this, like, team that's not on your payroll, right? But they kind of are. Like, they're not on your payroll. You're not paying them, monthly or annually. It's not a retainer, but they get paid, if the deal closes. And so they're all incentivized to help you. But there's a difference between people that will help you, not because they want to get a check. And that there are people like that out there that exist. And so when you find that team, you have the team around you. Now you just got to find the deal, right? Then you got to learn how to vet the deal, because it's easier to get into a deal than to get out of it, as they say in the book, right? So I think what I would do is focus on multifamily. If you can't, then long-term single family is like the way to go. I hate flipping, to be honest with you. I actually don't think flipping houses is a great model unless you have a dialed in system and team for
Well, and
finding a cheap deal. Like,
I
that's,
agree.
yeah.
It's too risky. There are too
Oh
many
yeah.
market externalities that you don't control that can change everything about your ROI.
Right. And then you got a 1031 to avoid paying capital gains tax. So there's all these capital gains tax you have to pay after you kind of made money. And most people don't make money. So I actually don't like flipping. I think people make money. I have, like, some of my flippers do. But I'm if you're newer, I'm in the opinion of buy and hold, buy and hold, buy and hold. Buy and hold, do a burst strategy, but hold it. Don't sell it.
Right.
But, like, buy the property that needs work with the value adds, renovate it, increase the value. If you want to take cash out, or do a HELOC. That's what I do. I do HELOC for rentals a lot. So we'll do a line of credit without traditional income verification. Use that line of credit to buy more rentals that need value add or that need construction, and then just keep doing that over and over again. That's how you never run out of money. Easier said than done, but that's probably what I would do.
And really, it's just a matter of getting the experience and understanding the cycles that you deal with. One of the things that I knew very early on, where I had my rental properties in Cleveland, Ohio, was that I was very close to the Cleveland Clinic and University hospitals, and both were teaching hospitals that had annual residency programs. And so I always cycled my rents to correspond with that annual cycle. Now, most of the time, my tenants would arrive in June and would stay for 3 years. That was typical. But they didn't always stay for 3 years, and it didn't matter to me how long they stayed, but I wasn't having a lease that ended any other
Yep.
month of the year than June.
Smart.
So then I knew that, okay, these people are going to be leaving at the end of this lease. And in the lease agreement, they've already allowed me permission to show the property during the final 30 days of their lease. And so then I was getting the next batch of residents who were coming for their very prestigious, very high paying residency programs at the Cleveland Clinic or university hospitals. And then that cycle was the cycle to be in. And then I watched some of my neighbors on these various streets that had these duplexes, multifamily properties, and I would see signs go up on January. And I was like, do you have any clue who your best tenant is? And they just didn't have a clue. So they're just dealing with whoever would rent in January or maybe February, or it's slow this time of year, so March. They're dealing with all these months of vacancy. And I'd see these neighbors and I'd say, hey, you should probably try to get somebody in there, starting on June 15th, and just have the lease cycle June 15th to the following June 15th. It'll work. June 15th, that's a weird day. Don't worry about it. That's when they want to take possession. So you start to get to know your local market area. You can really capitalize on the market of the moment in your area for, lower turnover, best quality tenants, maximum rents, minimum wear and tear.
100%. I have an investor that's in, he's by a hospital, very big hospital in my market. And so he knows his demographic very well. And he actually works in the same industry, not at that hospital, a different one. So he started in that industry. Like, he knows, I think he's I forgot what, not a nurse practitioner, but some position. Anyway. But the point is that he knows his tenants, like you said, and like the timelines of things and the type of tenants that you deal with, and like your niche for those tenants, because your tenants are your customers, right? You're buying a business, which is a multifamily property, and so the customers are the tenants that are going to be staying in it. So I think it's important to understand, like, what's the best season for them, right? So for us, it's between May and June. Like, it's like the best season. Once you're past June, it's like good luck, maybe even July. But yeah, I think that's so important, Kevin. Like, it's I mean, and you said, did you move from Cleveland to Florida now to Seattle? Are you in Seattle now?
Yep, exactly.
What had you move? Like, if you don't mind me asking, it's like the difference.
Oh, no, it's just, so I was in Cleveland, Ohio, running real estate brokerages there. I had ownership in a bunch of different Keller Williams Realty offices in Cleveland. And then I recruited an entire brokerage, 360 agents, 6 offices, into Keller Williams Realty back in 2009. That put me on the national radar, which created all sorts of opportunities for me to run real estate offices elsewhere. And I was going through a divorce and looking for a fresh start. And sunny Florida sounded like a pretty nice place. And so I was given the opportunity to run Keller Williams Realty in Tampa Bay, and very thankful. I met my wife, Lisa, there in the Sarasota area. I was running Keller Williams in Sarasota, Lakewood Ranch, Englewood, and Venice as well,
Nice.
and met my wife, Lisa, there 15 years ago. And so she's a Florida native. She grew up in the heat of Florida, went to grade school without air conditioning, if you can imagine. And so I was there 15 years. She was there her whole life. We started vacationing in the Pacific Northwest back in 2012. And we really fell in love with the mountains and the cooler air in the summer. Here it is, July 8th, and it is 58 degrees outside compared to Florida, which is already, 94, 95 degrees. So I was just looking for a new chapter, fresh, cool, nice mountain air. And so that's what took me to Washington. We bought our first home in Washington in 2020. And then we were spending our summers in Washington, our winters in Florida. But then after a few of those winters in Florida, we're like, this is just not getting cool anymore. And so we decided, let's just do a full year up in Seattle. And we loved it. And so we got rid of our Florida home, and now we're just full-time in Seattle.
Nice. Wow. And you're not managing a brokerage anymore, right?
No, I was able to successfully merge my entire operation. So in 2013, Lisa and I created our own brokerage, ran that for 10 years, had offices across Florida and Washington where we had our homes. And in 2023, I decided to merge all of our ongoing operations into eXp Realty. And we did that very successfully over an 8-week period in 2023. And so now I just focus on my own team of real estate agents. I don't have to deal with compliance issues. I just let eXp handle the compliance, and I just focus on lead generation and running teams. And then I do a lot of coaching and training of real estate agents. Plus I am doing a lot of, sort of full stack engineering for software prop techs.
Nice. Wow. A lot of hats, Kevin, a lot of businesses.
But it's all real estate. All of it has been real estate since really 1993.
Yeah. Nice. No, I love that. And I think that's important. Like there's a connection between everything. And it's funny because that direction, that where you're at now is kind of where I want to go. We want to look at, starting to build a team. Our model is very similar to the XP model. So we actually have some agents that are coming aboard that want to get paid for the loans, right? So we have a program that allows real estate agents to become licensed, and we do the loans. They don't touch it. They don't do anything. We do the loan start to finish, and they get paid on it. So yeah, I think it's cool. It's all connected. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Years ago, I was approached by an investment bank, and they wanted me to run their operations in Pinellas County, which was St. Petersburg and Clearwater. And I was like, well, I really appreciate it, but I don't know anything about investment banking, but I know all this stuff about residential real estate. And they're like, oh, you know how to run teams, you know how to lead people, you know how to manage systems, you'll be fine. But I was like, but I love real estate. And maybe it wasn't necessarily, it wasn't like, it was just one of those moments where you sort of say to yourself, how do I picture my future? Do I picture it down this path, which could be incredible, or do I picture it down this path which could be incredible? And it wasn't like a mistake or anything. It was just like, it's just a choice. That could have been a good path. This could have been a good path. I just decided to take that fork in the road. And what I've always loved about real estate is that it's a very able investment. And by able, I mean it is mortgageable, it is rentable, it is improvable, it is leverageable, it is sellable. If I'm feeling like my stock investments over at Vanguard aren't performing as well as I'd like them to, they're not going to invite me into the boardroom and let me throw in my 2 cents. I can't sort of go to Wall Street and just pipe it up and say, hey, this should all be worth a lot more money. But if I'm holding on to a piece of real estate and I'm thinking, this is underperforming, I can go to Lowe's, I can go to Home Depot, I can do a lot of different things to improve that piece of real estate. And all of a sudden I can see an immediate change in those performance metrics.
Yep. That's what's great about it. There are things we can't control, but there's a lot of things that we can control, in the real estate space. And like, that's what makes it so valuable. Yeah.
Well, Ben, this has been a great conversation. You and I already know we could go and keep on talking for another hour and a half, but I want to give everybody an opportunity to connect with you. Tell us where they should go, your website that you'd prefer them to go to learn more about you.
Yeah, so I would say to my website, so fundingfreedom.net, guys, if you want to learn more about, there's so many just resources there that you can tap into. And then the second one is my YouTube channel. So if you just go to Funding Freedom, type in Ben Steff Funding Freedom, or you can go to youtube.com/@fundingfreedom with Ben, as Kevin is displaying here on the screen. There I talk a lot about investment strategies and creative financing programs that you guys can leverage to buy more real estate and scale. If you're a realtor, I highly recommend the content, because you can not only see for yourself like how to do content, right? But also you can see what are some programs that will make you guys more money. I wholeheartedly believe a lot of the programs I'm going to talk about, guys, if you're a realtor, you will make more GCI every year if you refer these programs to your investors. Because if you give investors money, what are they going to do with it? They're going to invest. They're going to spend it. They're going to do something with it. I created so many listings and buy side deals because I helped my investors take out money where otherwise they wouldn't be able to take out, right? Or help them purchase. And so because of that, it creates deals for you as the agent. So I highly recommend if you guys want to go there. Yeah. And we're
one of the things that, and maybe we can get together for another podcast episode again soon. But one of the things that I always was training my real estate agents when I was running these various brokerages, Keller Williams and Coldwell Banker, and then my own brokerage, and now at EXP, most consumers have their primary residence and they live there. And unless they're thinking about making a change, you as a real estate agent don't have any transactional opportunity with them. But many of these people have money in savings, money set aside for investment, and they could be investing, and they could be investing in real estate, and they could be investing in real estate with you as their guide, if only they knew that you were conversational and experienced and knowledgeable in that space. So I always was talking with real estate agents about just ask one of those sort of like the television show Columbo, you're about to walk away from the conversation and you say, oh, by the way, have you ever thought about investing in real estate? And boom, all of a sudden, what was a closed door because they're not thinking of buying or selling or moving their own primary residence becomes a sort of like, we should talk about that. Are there any good deals out there right now? What do you know about it? How would I go about getting started on it? And then all of a sudden, instead of having no client from that contact, all of a sudden you have a repeat client. And those repeat clients are hanging out at the country club. They're hanging out at the restaurants. They're hanging out with their work colleagues, and they're talking about what they're doing, and they're talking about who they're doing it with. And then all of a sudden the floodgates open and you could find yourself very busy. I know a lot of agents that built their business off of turning regular buyers into investors. So they would convince, like I did this with a client that wanted to buy a condo. And I was like, dude, you're single. Like you should buy a 4-unit. And the agent, of course, the agent was sort of, no offense, like an order taker, like he just did whatever the client wanted. And that's like, anyway, but like the point. Very typical. And the client was like, hey, I want to do this. And I'm like, well, what if you did this? And he was like, oh shoot, you're right. Like, why not? And then he did it and he was so happy. And of course, like, it's funny. He goes to me more than he goes to the agent because we kind of coach him through, hey, the multifamily process, here's some things to look out for. And, because we do more than just here's a loan, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, that stuff like that, I think you could
do tremendously well if you just teach people how to become real estate investors. It could be families, it could be first-time home buyers, like show them the opportunities, make it easier for them, and get them into the game.
Well, this has been a great conversation, Ben. Thank you so much. I want to give everyone an opportunity to connect. Remember, you can go to fundingfreedom.net to connect with Ben Steff. You can go to youtube.com/@fundingfreedomwithben, and you'll find his channel there, and you'll be able to watch a lot of very helpful videos. Ben, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Realty Funnels podcast.
Yeah, Kevin, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.